Did you know you can draw fancy, colorful fonts yourself and use it in your games? I'll show you how to do it in Godot or any other engine or framework using a free tool called Calligro. It's open source, you can download it from itch or just use it in the browser. All the links are in the description. Let's start by creating a new project. The UI is divided into 3 sections. On the left, there are template settings where you'll define your template you'll be drawing on. On the right are font settings. Once you draw your characters, you can adjust some additional settings there and export your font. And in the middle, there's just a preview. Press the Preview Template button. This is the template that we'll be drawing in. Each cell will hold a single character. Right now, it's empty, so let's close this. And I recommend starting by choosing a base font. Go into the Prefill dropdown and choose any font. I'll choose Cascadia Code. You can see the font appeared in the preview. Now when I press Preview Template, the template is already filled in with the font that I've chosen. I'll use this as a base for drawing my characters. This is completely optional. You could use an empty template, but even if you want to draw your characters from scratch, I recommend choosing a base font just so you know where each character is supposed to go. Let's close this. You can also define the font color. I'll go for bluish. And you can also define an outline if you want. It works better with thicker fonts, so I'll stick to 0. The next setting is called a character set. Press Edit Character Set 95 chars. Those are all the characters that will be included in the font, and so you'll need to draw. You can choose any preset. The default is called Basic Latin. You can use any other preset. For example, Latin Extended A contains some additional special characters. You can also choose a completely different alphabet, like Cyrillic or Hiragana. I'll start with Basic Latin and remove all the characters except for the basic lowercase ones. If I now press Accept, I get an error. A space must be included, so I'll add it at the end and accept it. You can see one letter in the preview turned into an empty rectangle. This is because uppercase T is no longer part of the character set, so I'll just change it to a lowercase t. Then you can define width and height of each cell. I'll choose something a little bit narrower, and I'll keep the height. You can also choose character base. As illustrated here, the base is a line counted from the top of the cell at which the character sits. So some letters have parts of them that are below the base. Finally, if you want just some characters to have bigger or smaller cells, you can use size overrides. Press the plus button and specify all the letters that you want to have different sizes. Press Add All, and now you can choose any one of them, for example A, and make it a different size. For example, I'll make the A wider, and you can see in the preview, indeed, A takes more space. Let's preview the template again. You can see it's smaller because there are less characters, and indeed, the A cell is wider than the other cells. Let's export the template. You can choose either the PNG or Aseprite format. Since Aseprite has some special treatment, I'll choose it just to demonstrate it and export it. This is how the template looks like imported in Aseprite. You can see it already contains some predefined layers, a prefill layer with the characters, a grid layer with the grid, and a background layer with the background. The background layer will be ignored by Calligro, so its color doesn't matter. Let's choose the prefill layer and modify the font. I'm just using some built-in effects and color adjustments for a quick effect. It's worth noting the horizontal lines between cells are the baselines. Once you're done, press Ctrl S to save. Back in Calligro, in the font settings section on the right, press Reimport to see the changes. They are immediately visible in the preview. Notice the label that says Current Template, Calligro Tutorial Template.Aseprite. This means that this file is currently linked to this project, and that's why I can click Reimport to just update it. If for whatever reason it says current template embedded in project, that means that it's not linked to any file and the re-import option will be grayed out. In this case, you need to choose import new template and link a file first. Press the small button next to re-import. It's called Auto-reimport on changes. I positioned the windows so that both Aseprite and Calligro are visible. And now when I modify something, let's say I'll fill in the space character with something, press Ctrl S to save, and the change is immediately reflected in Calligro. I'll make it thicker so it's easier to see. I'll revert it, press Ctrl S, and the last thing I'll do with the template is I'll actually make use of the additional space for the A character. It may look weird, but it gets the point across. Back in Calligro, there are some additional settings that we can tweak. First of all, there is horizontal spacing, which we can just make the letters be farther apart or closer together. I feel like -2 is good enough. Let's ignore vertical spacing because it's deprecated, and instead use line height. As specified in this illustration, the line height is the distance from the top of one cell to the top of the cell below it. I'll add additional line of text to better illustrate it. And now I change the line height. I think 25 looks good. The last thing we can edit are kerning pairs. They allow us to make specific letters closer together or farther apart. Let's choose the plus icon. As a quick example, left characters A, right characters B. You can see in the preview there's A and B. And now I can make them be closer together. -3 looks good. Add one pair, and it's immediately in effect. I can also choose it from here and still modify it. I can also add kerning pairs in batches. Let's press add kerning again. And let's say that whenever A is on the left and any other character is on the right, I want the distance to be -3. Inputting more than one character in an input just creates all permutations of kerning pairs. So in this case, it'll add 26 pairs. Let's add it. And the other way around, if any one character is on the left and the A is on the right, add another 26 pairs. And you can see those pairs are actually here. The only thing left to do is to export our font. Export new font. You can choose either the TXT or XML version of the format. Some engines and frameworks support one and some support another. It's usually undocumented, so you may need to try which one works for you. I'll show you how to use it in Godot, and Godot supports the TXT version, so I'll choose TXT and export. As you can see, I have the option to select a whole folder. This is because Calligro will actually export two separate files into this folder. Both of the files are needed for the font to work. So I'll select this folder, and the font is exported. I have a simple Godot project prepared. Let's import the font by selecting both of the files and drag and dropping them into Godot. They should be imported properly automatically. Make sure that the FNT file was imported as font data angel code boolean font, and the PNG just as a regular texture 2D. In my scene, I only have a color rect to provide the white background. Let's add a label. I'll call it main menu. You can see it because it's white text on white background. And for the sake of simplicity, let's go to theme overrides, fonts, and drag and drop the FNT file into here. As you can see, the font works. If it seems a bit blurry, make sure to set the appropriate filtering. In my case, it's kind of pixel art, so it probably should be nearest. And it works like any other font. I can make it bigger. I can also add an input field. Let's call it your name, and also apply the font. And now, if I run the scene, I can just type in my name, and we're done. Of course, those fonts are not Godot specific. You can use them in many different engines or frameworks. You can find some samples to get started in the Calligro's GitHub repository. If you have any questions or just want to talk, join the Discord server. All the links are in the description.